The morning smelled of melting frost and wood smoke. My fingers were stiff with ink when I first saw her. The new maid, Mira. She bent over the well, sleeves rolled past her elbows, water catching the faint sun like glass on her skin. "Is that the Lord's daughter spying on a servant?" Sister Anne's voice scraped behind me. I turned too quickly. "I was only passing." "Passing for the third time this hour?" Her eyes narrowed. Best not to stare too long. Curiosity draws notice. Notice. That word always felt like a noose. Later that morning, I found Mira in the great hall polishing the long oak table. "You missed a spot," I said, just to hear her speak. She looked up, eyes the color of storm clouds before rain. "Then show me, my lady." Her tone wasn't mocking, but bold. I leaned closer, tracing a finger over the wood. "Here," I whispered. She smiled, a small thing, but enough to make the world shrink to that single heartbeat. After she left, I went to my chamber and wrote the first line that would ruin me. "Your hands make the water jealous." It wasn't poetry, but it was truth. I folded the page, sealed it with no crest, and hid it under the basket of folded linens near the well. That evening, while the torches hissed in the corridor, I saw her find it. She looked around, eyes sharp as a hawk's. When she read the line, her lips parted. She pressed the paper to her chest, then tucked it inside her apron and walked away as if nothing had happened. My heart burned through the rest of the night. Days passed. Each morning, I waited near the courtyard where she fetched water. I tried to sound casual. "The snow's late leaving this year." "Aye," she said, glancing at me briefly. "The land clings to what it loves." Her words cut deeper than she knew. I bit my tongue before it betrayed me. When I returned to my room, I wrote again, "The land clings to what it loves." So do I. I hid that one beneath her folded cloak. That evening, she came to my door with a tray of bread and broth. I pretended surprise. "Thank you," I said. She set it down. "You write beautifully, my lady." The world stilled. "You read that?" "I can read most words," she said softly. "The ones that matter, I learn quickly." My pulse hammered. "Then you know that you write what no one else dares to say aloud?" "Yes." Her eyes didn't waver. "But maybe you shouldn't. Why not?" She hesitated. "Because someone will see. And when they do, they won't call it poetry." Her warning was kind, but it struck like a blade. "Then I'll write smaller," I said. Her mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, not quite disapproval. "You can't shrink a heart on paper, my lady." Before I could answer, Sister Anne's voice called from the hall. Mira turned quickly, curtsied, and left. That night, the castle slept heavy with winter silence. I couldn't. I sat by candlelight, the ink drying on my fingers. I thought of duty, of my father's booming voice at supper, my mother's eyes fixed on propriety, the endless talk of suitors and alliances. And then I thought of her voice in the dim hall, quiet, alive, defiant. By dawn, I had written a third letter. "If they call it sin, let me carry the blame gladly." I didn't sign it. The next morning, she didn't come to the well. Panic twisted through me. When I found her near the stables, she looked pale. "You shouldn't," she began. "I shouldn't what?" "Keep leaving these." She pressed the folded page back into my hand. "They're dangerous. So am I. When I'm silent." She stared at me for a long time, then whispered, "You'll bring ruin upon us both." Her fear didn't sound like rejection, it sounded like confession. I wanted to touch her hand. I didn't. "Then let ruin wait a little longer." She walked away, but slower than before. That evening, I stood alone by the narrow window, holding her returned letter. The candlelight flickered against the wax seal I hadn't used. Below, in the courtyard, I saw her, passing through the snowlight, carrying baskets toward the well. She paused once, as if she felt my gaze. Our eyes met across the distance. She didn't look away. In her hand, I saw something small, a folded scrap. She left it on the stone ledge beneath my window before disappearing into the dark. I ran downstairs, breath shallow, and found it waiting. "Your words are dangerous," it read. But I kept this one anyway. I pressed the page to my lips, the ink still warm. And for the first time, I knew what I'd written was no longer mine. It belonged to her now. The quiet ink I kept hidden had found its reader. The castle wakes before dawn. Linen rustles. Voices hum through stone. I move with a calm face and restless heart, stealing moments the way thieves steal bread. "Mira," I whisper from the doorway of the linen room. She turns, startled, a roll of fabric in her arms. "You shouldn't be here, my lady." "Then don't say it so loud." I step closer, eyes on the seam of her apron. "Here." She stares as I slip the folded paper into the pocket of her skirt. "What is it this time?" A thought I couldn't keep in my head. She sighs, half pleased, half afraid. "You'll get us both whipped." "I'll take the lashes then." She glances up, that flicker of defiance again. "You wouldn't last one. Try me." Her laugh is quiet but alive. "You sound like the knights in the yard." "Then let them envy me." She shakes her head and presses the paper deeper into her pocket. "Go, before someone walks in." I obey, but every step away feels like betrayal. By midday, the courtyard fills with noise. Captain Alden. Shouting orders, blades striking wood, sweat glinting under the pale sun. My father stands near the stables, speaking with a man in a crimson cloak. "Sir Rowan," father calls. "Come meet my daughter." I bow slightly. Rowan's eyes are bright, sharp, assessing. "A pleasure, Lady Isabel." His voice carries practiced charm. He smells of leather and iron. "Father speaks of an alliance," he says, "between our houses. I hope it's true." My throat tightens. He speaks of many things. He chuckles, misunderstanding. "Then I'll pray this is one of them." Father nods with approval. "You'll dine with us tomorrow." I smile on command, but inside something cracks. In the kitchens, heat and chatter drown my thoughts. Sister Anne corners me by the shelves. "You dropped this," she murmurs, holding a corner of parchment I'd carelessly left near the table. I snatch it back. "You read it?" "Enough to know you're mad. Then hide it for me." She exhales through her nose. "I should burn it, but you won't." "No," she says softly, "because I was once foolish too." Her pity stings worse than warning. That night, I find Mira alone in the bathhouse, steam curling around her like a veil. Her sleeves are rolled up, water glimmering on her arms. "You shouldn't be here," she whispers. "Neither should you. Reading letters meant to stay hidden." "I wasn't hiding." She holds up the folded page. "You said words were free. I only wanted to hear them aloud." "Then read them," I say. She hesitates, then opens it, voice trembling. "If they took away the sun, I'd still see you by the memory of your hands. The air thickens. The sound of dripping water is all that moves between us." "You wrote that?" she asks. "I lived it," I answer. Her breath falters. "My lady, if anyone hears, then let them." She shakes her head, eyes shining. "You don't understand. Servants have no defense. One rumor, and I'd protect you. Against your father, against the church." Her voice hardens. "You can't even protect yourself." The words cut deep because they're true. I reach for her hand but stop short. I just wanted to feel alive for once. I whisper. She lowers her gaze. Then write it in your books, not on my skin. Before I can answer, a voice echoes from the hallway. Footsteps, laughter, the sound of approaching maids. Mira pulls away, face composed in an instant. "I'll return your tray in the morning," she says, louder now, pretending distance. I nod, forcing calm. "See that you do." When she's gone, the room feels hollow. The candle sputters beside the basin. I trace the edge of her last word, alive, and wonder when mine began to die. By dawn, I sit by my window, ink smudging my wrist. Outside, the knights train again, their swords catching the morning sun like mirrors of fate. Sir Rowan rides, past the gate, proud, certain, the image of the life chosen for me. Behind him, a figure crosses the courtyard quietly, her head bowed, carrying linens. Mira. She looks up once, eyes meeting mine for a heartbeat that feels like eternity. Then she turns away before anyone notices. I crush the half-written letter in my hand. Love shouldn't have to hide. But in this house, everything precious does. And I know even as the ink dries that something is coming. Something that will break every wall I've tried to build. The Countess arrived before dawn. I heard her before I saw her. That deliberate rhythm of silk brushing stone. When Eleanor moved, even the air dared not whisper. She stopped by the hearth where my candle still burned, eyes narrowing at the folded parchment tucked beneath the brass stick. My heart stumbled. That letter, our letter, writing so early, dear? Her tone was honey, but I could taste the steel beneath. It helps me think, I said too quickly. She lifted the candlestick, fingers pale and elegant, and slid the letter free. Think of what exactly? I said nothing. The sound of the paper unfolding was louder than any church bell. Her eyes moved left to right, quick, practiced. She smiled, though it did not reach her eyes. Such beautiful words. So private. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. That is not for you, my lady. Oh, but everything written within my walls belongs to me, she murmured, still reading. Even your heart, perhaps. I stepped forward, pulse pounding. You misunderstand, do I? She asked, finally looking up. You speak of loyalty, of forbidden longing, and a woman with hair like wheat. Tell me, who among us wears such hair? I swallowed. Mira. Of course. Eleanor folded the letter slowly, like a priest closing a holy book. Sit with me, she said. I dislike speaking down to people I might one day have to protect. I obeyed. Not out of respect, but survival. She sat across from me, posture regal, smile soft enough to bruise. You are clever, she said. And cleverness in this keep is both blessing and curse. Tell me, do you think love can live here in these stone halls? If it's hidden well enough, I said, then you are already in danger. Her eyes glimmered. Secrets have a scent, and I smell yours, the fire hissed. I felt stripped bare, like a confession laid open before the altar. You play a dangerous game, she continued. Do you know what happens when affection crosses the wrong threshold? I whispered, I've seen worse fates. She leaned closer. No, you haven't. Silence. The crack of the fire filled the gap between us. She rose, smoothing her gown. Walk with me, she ordered. The corridors are quieter than the air in here. I followed her through the castle, tapestries shifting in the torchlight, our shadows stretching along the walls like long ghosts. When we reached her chamber, she turned and said, Enter. The door shut behind us with a sound that felt final. She poured wine into 2 cups and handed me one. Drink, it steadies the heart. I didn't. She smiled faintly. Good. Never drink what others pour. You learn quickly. Then her tone changed, softer, almost kind. You're young. You believe your heart belongs to you. But in this world, affection is currency. And currency must be spent wisely. I forced myself to meet her gaze. So you'd trade love for safety? I'd trade anything for survival. She sipped her wine. Even mercy. A knock interrupted us. The door creaked open. Brother Thomas stepped in, his gray robes whispering secrets. "My lady," he said, bowing. "The chapel candles burn low." Eleanor waved him off. "They always do." "Come, Thomas. Tell our guest what happens when hearts wander." His eyes met mine. Weary, knowing. "The old laws are cruel," he said softly. "Confession leads to cleansing. Cleansing to silence." Eleanor's gaze never left me. "You see? Mercy takes many forms." I turned to Thomas. "You preach of salvation, yet you sound afraid of it." He hesitated. "I fear what people call justice when it wears a crown." The Countess laughed. Low, dangerous. "Go, Thomas, pray for us both." He left quietly, leaving the echo of his words like a warning bell. Elena stepped closer until I could feel her breath. "Tell me," she whispered, "does Mira know how easily her name could end her?" I clenched my fists. "You wouldn't, wouldn't I?" Her hand brushed the folded letter on her desk. "This is proof enough. One misplaced word and you'd both vanish before the next sunrise." My voice shook. "Why are you doing this?" "Because knowledge is power, and power must belong to someone." Her eyes softened, dangerously so. "But I'm not your enemy. I simply need assurance." "Of what?" "That your heart won't turn against me." I stepped back. "You want loyalty, not love." "Both," she said simply. "But I'll settle for whichever keeps you alive." She reached out and placed the letter in my hand. "Consider this, Mercy. And a leash." Her smile lingered like frost. "Do not write again. Not unless you wish me to read it." I left her chamber trembling. The letter pressed against my chest like a wound. At supper, I sat across from Mira. The hall was loud with laughter and metal, but beneath the noise, fear moved like an unseen tide. Eleanor watched from the high table, her gaze calm, satisfied. Then Mira's hand brushed mine under the table, a single trembling touch. I froze, every nerve burning. She whispered, "What happened?" "Nothing," I lied, but Eleanor's voice carried down the hall. "Some shadows," she said to no one in particular, "are best left unread." And I knew. She still held the leash. "Leave the herb," Sister Anne hissed, handing me a sprig of pressed thyme. "You'll wilt if you carry every bloom like a confession." "I'll hide it," I said, tucking it into my sleeve. "No one will see. No one but the one you want to." She snorted. "Fools wear secrets on their skin." "You taught me to hide things," I answered, fingers already tracing the leaf through linen. She smiled, the small mercy of old mischief, and the world narrowed to that single dangerous pulse. "Isabel," Captain Alden said later, across the yard, voice low. "A note for the Northern Patrol. Will you see it to Master Huxley?" "Of course," I lied, taking the folded paper. Rowan watched from the archway, courtesy like carved stone. "Say you'll ride out with them, Isabel," he said, smile easy. "Show you understand duty." "I will," I said, and the promise tasted like stale bread. In the stables, Mira crouched by the mare, hands in oats. She looked up as if I'd pulled light from between my ribs. "You shouldn't be here," she said. Not a warning this time, but a greeting. "I have a note." I lied again, because the stable smelled of horse and hay, and the truth felt sudden and sharp. I pressed the paper into her palm. "Keep this for Master Huxley." She read the outside, raised her brow, then laughed, quiet. "You pass me war letters as if I'll teach them manners." "You will," I said, needing the joke to cloak the way heat spread through me when our fingers met. Her laugh broke. "You're reckless. And you're brave." She glanced at me, long, measuring, and then lowered her voice. Come at dusk. At dusk, the castle softened. Torches threw lazy gold. The kitchen sent up warm breath. I moved like a shadow through the servants' paths, the herb thrumming against my wrist. In the hayloft, Mira waited with a braid of straw in her hair and eyes like storm silver. You smell of time, she said, and the word slipped between us like a dare. You smell of saddle and smoke. Is that meant to be a slight? She asked, smiling. Her hand found mine, thumb brushing the leaf beneath my sleeve. You carry things for me no one else will know. Promise me, I said, voice small and urgent. If the world pushes, if anyone asks, promise to keep us as this. Hidden, simple. She tightened her grip until my palm ached. I promise. But a promise is only a bridge if both of us cross. Then cross with me. She pressed her forehead to mine. I would, if you meant it. I do. I could feel how easily desire made vows into weapons and stones into stepping stones. I will find any way. Below, a shout, Captain Alden's laugh, then Rowan's voice carrying like a bell. The hay smelled of dust and skin and something forbidden. Mira leaned back, breath shallow. You know your father plans for Sir Rowan to court you. I know. The words were ash. He thinks a match secures borders and bloodlines. He doesn't know what it secures in me. Then don't tell him, she said. Hide it better. I can't hide what I am, I said, suddenly raw. I can hide what I write, but not what I feel. She laughed, this time sharp. Good, then stop writing it and say it. Say it? The idea felt like stepping from a cliff. Will you stand outside my chamber while the world decides my fate? No. Her sentence was a blade. I'll stand inside it. I'll risk for you, Isabel. The pledge trembled between us. I wanted to clasp it and hold the world still. Instead, I folded my hands around hers and knelt on the straw. Only one thing, I said. If they come, if my father or the Countess sniff trouble, leave the keep. Run to the mill road. I'll follow when I can. She closed her eyes. And if you can? Then make the promise mean something anyway. My voice cracked. Live. Her laugh was a single bitter sound. You think I don't plan for survival? I learned that on the road. You learned a danger I can't step into, I said, thinking of the night she'd tended a wounded boy by the roadside while strangers slept. The memory was a map to the woman she'd been before these stone walls renamed her. She pressed her forehead to mine again. Then trust me. When the world moves, I will move faster. A horse neighed below, sharp as alarm. Footsteps, Master Huxley's ledger steps, echoed against the stair. I sat up too quick. Go, I mouthed. Now, she hesitated, thumb stroking the pressed time in my sleeve. Will you miss me? She whispered. I will tear my heart out to count the days, I said. She kissed the corner of my mouth, quick, intent, and then slipped away like a secret. I stayed, hand over my lips, the scent of hay and thyme stitched into my skin. That night, in my bed, I tucked the herb beneath my pillow. The promise felt like a bridge built out of whispers and straw. I believed it as if belief were a shield. Outside, the castle kept its watch. Inside, two hearts planned small rebellions. In the morning, Sir Rowan left flowers at my door, a polite armor of roses and silk. I stared at them and thought of the hay, the time, the map where our hands had met. The world offered me duty in a wrapped bouquet. I crushed a petal between my fingers and tasted the sharp of ruin and the sweetness of a vow. Take a deep breath and work on this problem step by step. Jonas stumbled on the last stair, his bundle of letters scattering like startled birds. I saw one slide across the stone and stop at my mother's feet. Isabel? Lady Margot's voice trembled. She picked up the page as if it burned. Her fingers shook. What is this? We are careless, I said, but it sounded hollow. Servants crowded. Brother Thomas pushed through, eyes tight. Calm, he said, but his voice had no balance. Eleanor watched from the landing, silk like a shadow. How curious to find such things here, she said, smiling. Love notes are dangerous in halls of power. My father stepped forward. This is nonsense. Who wrote it? Mother handed the letter to him. He read only a line aloud and the room went cold. Your hands make the water jealous. My face burned. I wrote nothing for strangers to read, I said. Eleanor descended with soft steps. Privacy is a luxury, she said, taking the letter. But information can be useful. She folded it and slipped it into her sleeve. I will hold this for your good. For our good? Mother asked. Her voice broke. For my good, Eleanor corrected. And yours if you follow what I ask. My father's jaw tightened. What do you mean? A bargain. Eleanor's smile sharpened. Isabel will marry Sir Rowan. She will serve at my circle and secure alliances. In return, I keep the matter private. You cannot demand my daughter, Mother cried. I can offer her shelter, Eleanor said coolly. Refuse and rumor will spin until exile follows. I save you a worse scandal. Brother Thomas clasped his rosary. Scandal and sin walk together, he muttered. Confession may heal, but not always. Sir Rowan stood by the archway, polite as carved stone. A match would strengthen our houses, he said. His eyes flicked to me. I saw Mira at the base of the stairs, cloak damp. She had heard. She came forward, calm as a river. I am here, she said. You must go, I whispered. You should not be seen. No, she answered, stepping close. Her hand found mine under the press of onlookers. Tell me what she asks. To marry Sir Rowan, I said. To be bound to Eleanor's plan in exchange for secrecy. Mira's grip tightened. Then you will say yes. No. The word cut through me. I will not sell you like a possession. You think marriage is a sale? She asked, voice low. You who would trade your freedom to keep me safe, my mother sobbed. Think of the family. Our name, Isabel's choice is not only ours, my father said. This is about the line. Eleanor's hand brushed the letter in her sleeve as if to remind me it existed. Choices, she said. Every life chooses a ledger. You may keep your name or keep your lover. I looked at Mira. She stood with that quiet courage that had mended others. I looked at my mother, pale and trembling. I looked at the Countess, who turned power into kindly counsel. I will not marry for a bargain, I said, though my voice faltered. You may not be allowed refusal, Father warned. Then choose the house, Mother pleaded. Think of duty. Think of love, Mira whispered, thumb rubbing my knuckle. Think of yourself, the hall spun. I thought of nights in the hayloft, of time pressed into sleeves, of her hands in the stables. I thought of ink on my palm and the way my words had made her breathe. None of it carried weight against a roof and a line and the Countess's folded letter. That night, Mira stayed in a small room near the servants' quarters. We lay side by side on a narrow pallet and watched the candle gutter. Why do you cry? She asked when she woke and found my face wet. Because they would trade us, I said. Because my mother might choose our ruin for safety. She kissed my forehead. Then let them tie your hands to the roof if they must. When the strap loosens, we run. Run where? I asked. Fear made the question sound larger than it was. Anywhere, she said. Anywhere but here. Outside, the castle settled. Inside, bargains had been made without my consent. I pressed my face into my hands and let the tears come. The letter Eleanor held burned like a brand against my ribs. At dawn, a soft knock. Lady Isabel, a voice called. The Countess requests you. I sat up, every muscle alert. The choice was no longer a distant threat. It had a voice and a time. My heart hammered loudly. a small drum of impending doom. I smoothed my dress with hands that trembled and went to meet the woman who had kept my letters in her sleeve. "I will do it," I told Eleanor, and the chamber went still as if someone had cut the castle's breath in two. "You mean you will save your house," she said, silk steady. "You mean you will marry Sir Rowan." "You mean I will bend," I corrected. "For a season." "For as long as I require," she said. "Do you understand the difference?" Yes, my voice came out small. I had meant to bargain and keep the corners of my life untouched. I had meant to hide Mira in the shadows. I had meant to keep my heart and hand separate. "Yes, good." She smiled, and a toothless thing of mercy and cruelty. "Your father will be pleased." Your mother relieved. Sir Rowan advantaged. And you protected. You call this protection? I asked. "Protection from ruin," she said. "From scandal. From exile. From worse." "Worse," I echoed, because the worst had a face and it walked under a priest's robe. Sir Rowan came often after that. He spoke of alliances like a man reciting prayers. "Lady Isabel," he said, handing me a ribbon, "our houses could bind as rope to a mast. Storms are less cruel when two keep watch." He bowed as if fate were a thing to be negotiated. "You speak well," I said. "You speak as men who own words do." He took my hand in his, public and warm. "I will be a husband to you." "It is not that I doubt you," I said, and felt the lie split inside me. "It is that I doubt any man can wear tenderness and law at once." He laughed, the sound polite. "Then teach me what you fear." Meanwhile, Captain Alden caught me by the battlements one night, cloak smelling of iron and smoke. "You look like a woman who has chosen a grave," he said. "I chose to keep a roof," I answered. "You can keep more than a roof." He leaned close. "I have roots that slip past tacksmen and eyes. I have friends who owe me favors. If Mira must flee, I can give you a map." "A map," I repeated, because hope sounds almost as foolish as prayer. "To a cottage beyond the mill road, 2 days' walk. Safe. No name. Food. Work." He tapped the side of his nose. "But if you flee, you must flee for good. You cannot marry and then vanish." "I do not plan to vanish," I said, and the words were empty as glass. "Then think," he said, "before they put a ring on your finger and call it law." Sister Anne caught me later in the kitchens, pretending to scrub. "You should not have accepted," she hissed. "You are not cut for chains." "I accepted to keep them from breaking my mother's back," I said. She snorted. "Your mother would sell your soul for a stable roof." "I'd keep your letters if you trusted me." She shoved a wrapped scrap into my hand. "Burn them." I already burned some. I felt the heat of lies in my chest. "You will need coal to burn all of them." She looked at me, eyes older and harder. "Also, be careful with Huxley." "Huxley?" I asked, mouth dry. "He holds ledgers, loves coin. He may not be loyal for free." She would not meet my eyes after that. I held the scrap of paper until my fingers cramped. That night I wrote nothing. I learned secrecy could be as loud as a bell. Rumor moved faster than I could. Jonas the servant, drunk and foolish, spilled news in the tavern. Huxley heard the tavern talk and tasted opportunity. He came to the steward's table with a ledger and a grin. "A few coins and secrets change hands," he said quietly. "Names are currency. How low have you stooped?" I asked him when I could. He shrugged. Ledger folded like a priest's secret. "When a roof wobbles, men buy steadiness," he said. "Coin gives steadiness." "You sold us," I said. "I bought safety for my children," he answered. "Do not speak as if you do not know the world. Betrayal is not always loud." Sister Anne, who had once slipped my letters into safe places, now moved like water around me and pretended she had always loved the Countess's plan. I saw the way she listened, the way she smiled a careful smile when Huxley walked past. I felt every small loyalty become a fracture. Then came the night I tasted iron. Mira heard of the betrothal from a passing cook's whisper and came to me as if the moon had fallen in her hands. "They will bind you," she said, breath sharp as a blade. "They will buy your silence with a ring." "They will keep our shame with a promise," I said, trying to make diplomacy into courage. She laughed, a sound that tasted like bark. "I will not be a promise kept in a drawer." Her eyes flashed. "I will not be owned." "Then do not stay," I said, voice breaking. "If this is what you choose, run." "Run?" She spit the word like a curse. "Run where while you wear a ring?" "I will find you," I said, and all my old bravado came back like a fever. "If I can, I will find you." "You will be wed by then," she said. "Weddings are good puzzles for what escapes." She left that night. Not to the mill road, not to Captain Alden's map, but into the wood, a shape swallowed by trees. I chased her to the edge of the copse and found only a scrap of pale cloth snagged on a bramble. Her kerchief, the edge hemmed with a needle's careful hand. I held the scrap to my face until the cold came back. The echo of her footsteps was gone. The promise we had made in the hayloft felt like a bridge burned at both ends. My mouth tasted of smoke and salt. At dawn, my father announced the engagement in the great hall as if he read a scroll ordained by God. Sir Rowan bowed, smiling at the news like a man claiming weather. The Countess watched me with a smile that was almost mercy. I folded Mira's kerchief into the palm of my hand and let the fabric soak up my tears. The house moved on, cheerful as any ship set to sail. I could not leave with it. Outside, the wind pushed leaves against the stones like tiny accusations. Inside, my name was already being tied to a future I had not chosen. I tightened my fingers around the piece of cloth until the threads threatened to tear. The drums came before the riders. I heard them in my chest first, slow, hard, a heartbeat learning to march. From the battlements, the men looked like carved figures pulled by a cruel hand. Sir Rowan tightened his gauntlet and rode past without a glance. "Do you fear for them?" Captain Alden asked, wind cutting his words. "I fear for the keep," I said. "They'll hold," he said. "They must." Smoke lay low over the trees. My father paced, face set. "They march for the border," he said. "We send men." "Send them," Eleanor said from the shadow, "and bind ties while the world shakes." "More taxes?" Mother cried. "A public betrothal," she answered. "Security needs a face." I felt the bargain tighten like rope. Mira filled my thoughts, time in my sleeve, the warmth of her hand. I hugged the letters in my bodice as if they could anchor me. A messenger arrived, breathless. "Raiders struck the eastern hamlet," he said. "They burned and fled toward the ford." "To arms!" Rowan shouted. He looked back once, catching me with his eyes for a moment. The men rode off. The keep felt hollow, as if a drum had been struck and left ringing. Eleanor moved through the hall at dusk, silk whispering. "Now we secure what remains," she said softly. "Not by selling our children," Mother snapped. "By sheltering them," Eleanor said. "Isabel, a betrothal will keep the household whole." "I gave you my words," I said. "A bargain was formed," she said. "Bargains are kept." Brother Thomas said, "War strip secrets bare. Oaths steer wrath, or make targets," I said. "Then stand with your house," Eleanor urged. I left and found Mira in the kitchens, arm bandaged and quiet. "You were gone," I said. "I helped," she said. "I hid 2 children until dawn. Why?" I asked. "I could not leave them," she said. "I ran when a man chased me." Her forearm carried a fresh white line, scar and story. "You should not risk yourself," I said. "I risk when needed," she answered. "You risk your name." Eleanor's voice came from the doorway. Brave of you to aid the weak. Eleanor, I said cold. She stepped forward. There is talk of a traveling band near the ford. Small now, but if they gather under a leader, they could upset plans. Plans? I clenched my fist. My plans, she said. Prosperity after the war. Alliances matter. Do you trade on suffering? I asked. People trade daily, she replied. Choose now. Uphold the betrothal and I place a garrison at the ford. Refuse and exposure follows. My tongue went dry. You call this mercy? I call it choice, she said. Mira squeezed my hand. What will you do? She whispered. I thought of Father's stern voice and Captain Alden's maps and Huxley counting coin. I thought of smoke and the children Mira kept alive. I promised my house, I said. And your promise to me? She asked. The word failed. A horn split the air, sharp and sudden. Eleanor stiffened. Not now, she muttered. Footsteps thundered in the courtyard. Boots, armor, men returning early. A voice cried, They're at the ford, more than reported. Burned houses on the road. My heart jumped. I looked at Mira. I looked at Eleanor. The choice narrowed to a single point. I reached for Mira's scar. My fingers brushed the pale line and remembered the heat of her hand. Something inside me leaned toward her. At the same moment, Roland, no, the steward Huxley, stepped from the shadows, ledger in hand. They gather, he said. Numbers rise with each dawn. War will not be tidy. Eleanor's gaze cut to me. Decide, Isabel, she said. Protect your blood or risk it all for a servant's hand. I cannot choose both, I whispered. Then choose, she said. I opened my mouth, but the courtyard sounded again. Shouts, the clatter of hooves. A rider burst through the gate, face streaked with ash. The ford is lost, he panted. They pressed toward the river. Time narrowed like a funnel. I felt the rope tug of duty and the pulsing thread of love. I swallowed, feeling the words pound behind my teeth. The decision would come from my mouth in a voice that could ruin or save. I took Mira's hand in mine and felt the scar tremble under my thumb. My chest split in two directions. Then the great bell tolled, 3 long strikes that shook the stone, and the hall filled with the sound of men running to armor. I stood with Mira's hand in mine, and the last bell left me with only one truth. War had come not just to the border, but to every choice between love and duty. I stepped forward, voice caught, the meaning of my answer hanging between us. Now. The hall smelled of wax and fear. Torches spat light across faces I had known all my life. Faces that could turn like weather. Brother Thomas stood at the side, his rosary fingers white. Sir Rowan sat tall, his jaw a line of sharpened stone. Eleanor watched from her seat like a woman who folds power into silk. You are quiet, Isabel, Father said at my shoulder, voice brittle. Speak for us. My tongue has found more use than silence tonight, I said. My voice surprised me by being steady. You will announce the betrothal, Eleanor said, smooth as oil. Complete the bargain. We go to council and secure the alliance. No, I said before I could weigh the mercy in her eyes. The word dropped like a stone. Eleanor's smile thinned until it was a blade. You refuse? I refuse to barter a life for safety. The words poured out and burned like cold. You offered marriage for secrecy. I will not bind Mira's name to my shame. A hush folded the hall. Sir Rowan's fingers tightened around his goblet. Are you mad? He asked. Do you know what your defiance does? You ruin more than yourself. Then ruin me, I answered. If ruin opens the door to truth, let it come. Brother Thomas stepped forward, voice low. Truth without penance is a blade. Confess and be spared some darkness. Confess what? I asked. That I loved? That I wrote words and hid them? Or that some of you choose comfort over justice? My words stung like nettles. Eleanor rose, silk whispering. You make accusations as if I plotted against you, child. I offered shelter. I offered order. You offered a leash, I said. You keep letters like small knives and use them when convenient. Her hand brushed the sleeve where she kept my letter. Careful, she warned. You speak of things you cannot undo. Then I will undo them now. I stepped into the light, feeling every eye like a thread pulling at me. I wrote those letters. I loved without permission. Mira took nothing from me but mercy. She is no scandal. I am, a cold laugh came from the table. Public confession is dramatic, Huxley murmured. But drama can be costly. Costly to whom? I demanded. You who counts coin and names? Sir Rowan sprang to his feet. You defame me with these words. You would imply I sought you under false pretenses? His face went hard. Have you any proof? I have only ink and truth, I said. I have my own voice. He strode toward me, anger bright. You will not stain my name. I would not stain yours if you had not offered yourself as some shield. The truth tasted metallic. You came with gifts and law. You said marriages bind houses. You did not say they bind souls, Sir Rowan's mouth curled. You are reckless, Isabel. Reckless women bring storms. Then let the storm come, I said. I would rather live in the rain than under a roof that cages us both. Eleanor moved like a shadow, sudden and cold. You are reckless and ungrateful. I can exile you both. I can make you wander and call it mercy. You would exile us for truth? I asked. Or for the embarrassment of your deals? She smiled, all knives. You choose, marriage now or exile later. Your family will survive with the alliance. Without it, ruin spreads. Her voice softened to mock pity. Think of your father. Think of your mother. Father's face crumpled. My child. Father, do not beg for my silence, I said. Do not plead with my bones. You taught me honor. Remember it now. Brother Thomas watched, torn. There is sin here, he whispered. And we must weigh repentance. Repentance for what? I shot back. For loving? For being human? A sudden hush settled, broken by a small sound, the closing of a door. Captain Alden stepped through, eyes like flint, and pressed something into my palm. A dagger, its haft warm from use. If you choose honor in the old way, he said, voice low, you may end this with a single strike. You may take your life and spare your name. My hand closed around the dagger. The metal was real and heavy and cheapened the very word honor. Or, he added, you may stand and face ruin. I will stand with you if you do. You give me tools to die or to fight, I said, tasting the iron. You would choose either for me? A choice is better than being chosen, Alden said. You will not be alone if you choose to stand. Mira slipped forward then, silent as a breath. She had come by the back stair while the council argued, blood drying on the sleeve she tried to hide. Her eyes met mine, and everything narrowed to that glance. No one spoke when she stood beside me. Isabel, she said, voice steady, though the hem of her robe trembled. Do not let them bind you to their comfort. Eleanor's face curdled. You are insolent, woman. I am truth, Mira said. The word cut the room. I did not seduce a lord's daughter. I loved her in the only honest way I could. If that is shame, then call us both shameless. Sir Rowan's face went an ugly purple. You would throw my name to the dogs? You would throw yours if you kept hiding behind piety, I said. You used me as an emblem of alliance. You did not know me, he spat bloodless. You betray me? I betray no one who sought to use me, I said. I refuse to be the currency in your ledger. The hall tilted. The air rang with the weight of my words. Sir Rowan cursed, a long, hot sound, then turned and stalked from the hall, armor clinking like a door closing on my throat. You will regret this, he called over his shoulder. Eleanor's eyes flashed furious promise. You will be punished, Isabel. Exile or worse? No, I said, voice hard as flint. I reached for Mira without thinking, seized her hand, and held it high between us. The hall inhaled as if expecting thunder. "This is not a scandal to hide," I said. "This is something real. I stand with her. No bargains. No chains." For a heartbeat, the world balanced on my outstretched hand. Then the doors slammed open, and the sound of many boots filled the entrance. Men returning, breathless, with news. A rider pushed through, cloak torn, ash on his face. He threw a scrap of torn cloth onto the floor and spat, "They have taken the ford. The enemy marches on the road." The words fell like a hammer. The council dissolved into shouts. The hall rocked with orders. My fingers clenched around Mira's hand as if the contact could hold everything together. Eleanor leaned close, voice sharp. "Your choice could cost us the keep." "It could save us from lies," I whispered back. She smiled with hatred like silk and said, "Then you will see if your courage carries weight when the sword falls." The bell in the tower began to toll, one long, mournful strike, while outside the sound of marching drums rose like a second, darker heartbeat. The keep breathed different air. Eleanor's bargains lay open. Favor had frayed. My mother sat by the window with steady hands. Father stared at maps and said nothing. "You did it," Captain Alden said at the gate, voice low. "It cost us," I answered. "It cost what needed costing," he replied. "You chose truth." "They chose punishment," I said. "Our sentence is small," Mira said, joining me. "We have each other." "And less than we had," I said. Her fingers found mine. "We leave at dawn. You teach, I mend sails," she said. "The sea takes what we cannot carry." "And the keep?" I asked. "It will sleep on its stories," she answered. Huxley avoided my eyes. "Orders from council," he muttered. "Do you regret?" I asked. He hesitated. I counted coin. Names seemed less costly then. We packed in the dark. My letters were bound with string. Sister Anne stood at the threshold, eyes wet. "You know the world will not be kind," she said. "We will be kind to each other," I said. The village smelled of salt. Children ran, and I taught them letters, simple sounds, brave mouths. "Read this," I told a boy. He stammered, then laughed when the sound clicked into sense. Mira found work mending sails. "You hum when you work," I said once. "It keeps the cold out," she said, and the memory of time. We rented a small room above a fisher's stall. "Do you regret?" she asked one dawn, fingers on a loose stitch. "I regret the cost," I said. "I regret those who suffered." She pressed her thumb to my cheek. "Don't carry regret as armor. Carry these." She handed me a letter I thought lost. I read aloud. "I will press my hands into yours when cold comes and call that warmth a future." "You are dramatic," she said, smiling, "but true." I read to an old woman mending nets, to fishermen with hands like maps, to children eager for sound. Words became small threads that stitched us to people not named in any ledger. One storm night, I walked to the shore with the last of my letters. The sea was dark and moving. I read the pages aloud, each line a promise unbound. "Your letters made me brave," Mira said behind me. "They made me foolish," I admitted. "But honest." She took my hand. "Honesty lets us build new things. We will not be titled, but we will be true." I folded the final page and let it slip into the foaming edge. The tide took ink and regret alike. The next morning, my mother clasped my hand. "Promise you will write," she said. "I will," I promised. At market, Huxley muttered, "Coin is scant." "Keep what is needed," I told him. A traveler asked, "Were you of the keep?" "I was," I said, and read by ale light to rough faces who said, "Stories keep people warm." Mira found work mending sails. "Teach the boy at the docks," she said. The boy Thomas could not sound sibilants. Sun, he stammered. Say it slow. Sun, I coached. He landed on the sound and laughed. Sun, he cried. That night I wrote a letter by candle. Mira asked, who will you send it to? To the sea, I said. For things I cannot keep. I read it aloud. Take these lines and keep our shame so we may keep our lives. She pressed her forehead to mine. We are small, but we are ours, she whispered. We began again.